It's John Cope from Cope Racing Transmissions, and in this episode I'm going to give you a video version of our trans brake installation instructions and what I recommend. I'm also going to explain why I recommend certain things. So this is going to apply for any of our trans brakes for the 727, the 904, the A500, the 518, 46, 47, 48 are H's or REs. This is basically that there's going to be a few small differences, and it's only going to be with the connector on the 4 speeds compared to the 3 speeds, but for the most part it's the same thing. When you get our brake, you're going to get a set of instructions with the brake, and I'm basically going to go over this with you right now. But first, let me show you what you get when you buy one of our trans brakes. I'm going to demonstrate this one for the 727, but like I said, this will be the same for 904, and I will mention the differences. So let's see what we get. So here's our trans brake valve body. This is just the basic 55X1. It will have the part number right here. It'll have our logo here. Down here there will be laser etched the build date and the serial number. This is the latest one that has been done. We also put a few things up here. Our website address is up here. Our phone number is here. Proudly made in the USA. We also, I like to put the customer's name on there, who it's specially built for. And if Lucas is the one who builds the valve body, there'll be a built by Lucas on there. There's no difference between his valve bodies and my valve bodies. I taught him everything there is to know about building his valve bodies and have complete confidence in all the work that he does. So basically, this is just our 3-speed, no clean neutral, no second gear launch valve body. And what it comes with is you will get the valve body. It'll already have the solenoid on it. And then it's going to come with the pass-through connector. The pass-through connector is going to go in the case, and that's how you're going to give power to the solenoid for the trans brake for 12 volts. And this is, or at least a JB Weld on here, because this is not a pipe thread, it's a normal thread. They can't make this out of pipe thread because it's plastic. If you make it out of a metal, then the electricity cannot pass through the connector. So if you just JB Weld these in, they're in there and you won't have to worry about it coming in or out or leaking. So that's included in the kit. Also in the kit is you're going to get a couple of accumulator D-rings. We actually give this with all our reverse manual valve bodies. The D-rings just take place of the sealing rings that you would normally see on a Chrysler accumulator. They're rubber and they look like a D, and they're total seal rings compared to these steel rings. Also, starting today, which is
10-4.
10-4. Say hi, Lucas.
How's it going?
Lucas and I were talking of why don't we include the vent with the trans brake. We offer the brake on the instructions 2 different ways to where you could or could not use the vent depending how you do it. I will tell you, using the vent, even though it could be a pain in the rear, is actually better for the transmission. So that's what's included. So starting today, 4/10/23, all the trans brakes are going to come with this vent.
You said 4/10, 10-4.
Thank you, 10-4. So you get the trans brake and the D-rings, the pass-through connector, and a vent is what's included. Now there's other recommendations of parts that I have over here that we're going to talk about that are not included with the brake. And the reason why I don't include them, because some people might already have these items. Some people will build a transmission and they'll go from a foot brake to a trans brake and may have a lot of these items. So the brakes are sold separately, individually, with these few items. All right, in the instructions, the first thing I talk to you about is using a low reverse billet servo. And there's a few reasons why I recommend using a low reverse billet servo. I hope all that drilling doesn't really come into the video. They should be able to hear me. I
got 4 more.
All right. Lucas is working, so. Our servos are a little bit unique than the brand X servos that you might get from south of us. These are made from a one-piece design, and they're also updated so they don't cock in the bore. A lot of times you'll get these super strong springs in the TF-2 and 3 kits, and when they do that, they don't give you the thicker retainer. Our retainer is thicker, twice as thick as the stock one. The reason why I recommend this billet servo basically is so you get a clean 1-2 shift. The low reverse band is on, the low band apply in first gear, and that band has to shut off for the front band to turn on and get the second gear shift. By putting this kit in there, you get the big stiff spring, which is going to shut the servo off very quick, give you a nice clean 1-2. The servo is a one-piece, so it's going to be able to take the high pressure that the valve body pushes out, and then the retainer is twice as thick as stock, so the Mambo spring is not going to push through the retainer. I recommend this with any valve body with low band applied, not just a trans brake. Second thing on the list is drilling a hole for relief, and I'll explain to you where and why. The drill bit size is a 1/16 of an inch, which is 60 thousandths. And the reason why I have everybody put a drill in here, and I'm not the only one, there's other people that do it, is because this is the third gear drum, third reverse. And when you apply the trans brake, this drum fills up. The oil between the piston and the drum, move the piston up, turns the trans brake on, and locks the transmission. Well, oil is going to be inside this piston. When you let go of the trans brake, the car starts going forward, all the oil that's in there gets pushed out. But there's always going to be a little residual oil in there. And as this thing is spinning counterclockwise, all the oil is going to go to the outside. If there's enough oil in there that it's going to build up and actually push on the piston just enough for the clutches to tag or touch the steels. You're not going to feel it, but it's going to put little burn marks on there. So drilling that hole in the front drum, you have an exhaust, and any residual oil that's in there as it's spinning is going to come out that hole. But that creates a small issue now that you're going to have oil spraying on the factory vent. On the front pump cover, there's a little vent there, and as the drum spins and it's spraying on there while you're on the brake or off the brake, that can spit out the vent. So we recommend that you plug the vent with a eighth pipe plug, and then relocate the vent with one of these to the rear of the case. I'll put pictures up there where I put mine. Now, as a racer with torque flight, you're going to get these vents that just love to burp and spit a little fluid out. Sometimes it happens when you're round robin. Sometimes on some cars they'll spit on almost every pass. On other cars they won't spit at all ever. There's no rhyme or reason why this does or doesn't happen. But if it does happen to you when you drive it, you can simply take this cap off with the seal pick. When I say simply, I mean easily. Like so. So there's the cap. So this is just a little nub sticking out. You can put a rubber hose on here with a clamp and run up a catch can up by your with the breather up by your master cylinder, and then if it burps, it's just going to go down. It just something that does. I've tried so many different things to get that to stop, and sometimes it will work on some people's cars and transmissions, and on others it would still burp. So if you have a puker, you have a burper, you're going to have to get a catch can. I have recommended to some people that you could drill a hole in the piston, but in order to do so, you'd have to drill a hole that doesn't interfere with the lip seal land right here. So you have to go down, I don't know, at least 1/8 of an inch or so to drill a hole, and then that's perfectly fine if it's spraying on the clutches and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel that that hole is not far down enough or outward enough to where the oil is always at. You'd have to have quite a bit of oil to get to that in there. So, I mean, I've done it before. It's not a big deal. If you freshen up your transmission and you see some burn marks on your front clutch and everything's been working good, the pressure's good, you run Teflon rings on the stator, then you might want to switch from the piston to here. I got 2 different cars and I have it done both ways. Mr. Haney is done in the piston. That transmission is what, 4 seasons old now. It's a 46 RE with a trans brake, and I freshened it up. When did I do it? Last year, and the clutches look great. So, and it's only an 11-second vehicle. So this may differ on much faster vehicles that have transmissions and motors that spin up much quicker when going down the track. So I recommend that you put the vent in, drill the drum, not the piston, and it's better for the transmission that way. But that's the only reason why we're building a drum. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get a quick release with that, but my exhaust on my solenoid is so large. I believe it's the quickest. I believe it's the quickest brake on the market as far as torque flights are concerned. So, let's move on to the next thing. While we're talking about front drums, if you have a 727, you want to make sure you run all 15 springs in the front drum, and you're going to have a problem bedding the factory retainer. So I recommend that you get a retainer. These are all things that are sold separately. If you have a 904 or an A500, I recommend you get a multi-spring pack, which has, how many is it? 20, 25? Is it 25 springs? Little springs?
Yeah, I think it's 25.
I recommend that you run those in a 904, drill a hole in the same place on the outside of the drum. Setting up the front clutch pack clearance. And this is going to be, most people are running 5 clutches. If you're running 4, you can run a little bit tighter. But for 5 clutches, I want you to have the clearance in the front drum between 85 and 95 thousandths. 90 is the sweet spot. On the rear clutch drum, I want you to have the clearance between 30 and 40 thousandths. 30 is the sweet spot. And I also want you to pay close attention to the clearance between the Bellevue spring and the piston on the rear drum. You want to have that as tight as you can. 0 to 5 thousandths. I have other videos on that show you how you can tighten that up. Band adjustments for the most part are 72 inch-pounds back off 2 turns, unless you have a double wrap band in the low reverse. Your 48 RE, your A500, and your 904 all have double wrap bands. That band adjustment's going to be a little bit looser. That one's going to be 72 inch-pounds back off 3 to 3 1/4 turns. If it's a solid band or a flex band on the front, it's 72 inch-pounds back off 2 turns. The next thing we're going to talk about is the accumulator and blocker rods. You can have a couple different setups. For one, you're going to get these D-rings in with all my reverse manual valve bodies. They work really nice. And even if you buy one of my dual ring accumulators, they just come with Teflon rings and they're fine. But I really recommend that you use one of them for the D-ring. So you can use the factory aluminum accumulator. Do not use the factory plastic one. So at least go to the factory accumulator. You can get our billet accumulator two different ways. You can get it with a built-in blocker rod, or you can get it with a blocker rod that just goes in there loosely. Either way, if you use the billet ones, you really have to pay attention to the clearance between the valve body and the accumulator. Once you put the accumulator in the case, because our billet valve bodies are thicker right here, the accumulator can prevent the valve body from going flush with the case. If you buy the trans brake and the accumulator at the same time, I take the accumulator, go back to the bandsaw, and I trim this down to fit. If you don't, and you buy this at a second, or if you bought this one time and then bought the valve body another time, you're going to have to make sure that you trim this. And it's only with the built-in accumulator, because these are a little bit taller than the factory ones. If you can see that, can you see that? So just pay attention to that. Make sure when you put the valve body on the transmission case that it's flush. Another thing that I have you do, and I have you guys do this more on 727s and 46, 47, 48 REs, is milling the stator support. I'm going to try to get this in the camera. You can see right here, in between the two sling ring lands, there's a mill section. See that? I know everybody don't have a mill, a Bridgeport. You can go in there with with care, go in there with a die grinder and open that up. And basically all you're doing is making like a little bathtub of oil, a volume of oil that is going to go into the front drum, and it's going to help the volume that's going to that front drum. I definitely recommend that you do that. Not so much on the 904, 518, and 500, I mean, because their sealing rings are a little bit further apart. There's a pretty big gap there, but I still do it on 904s and A500s. Like I said, if you don't have a mill, you can go in there and do it with a die grinder. You can buy these from us already milled. The 71, the 77 pump stators have a $100 pump core on them. They're very hard to get, but you can get them. One more thing, and I'm going to put the camera. One more thing I'm going to talk to you about. Because our solenoids are on the bottom of the valve body and not on the top, and I designed it that way. The reason why I designed it that way is the solenoid is an electrical piece, and if anything on the valve body would fail, it would be that. I've had very, very little problems with these solenoids. They're a screw and power glide solenoid, and the reason why I put them on the bottom is so if it does fail, all you have to do is drop the oil pan and you can get a power glide solenoid in there relatively quick and back to the track. If you have a brand X valve body, which you shouldn't, each one of those solenoids, the valve body has to come out of the transmission to replace the solenoid. And their solenoids are unique to that manufacturer. Every single manufacturer for valve bodies for torque flights that are out there on the market, their solenoids have to be bought through them. My solenoid is a power glide solenoid. If you want to get it through me, you can. If not, you can, long as it's a screw-in, short style, trans brake solenoid, you can get that thing anywhere. Most likely a Chevy guy will have one in his toolbox. Talking about the solenoid and the solenoid body, because it is on the bottom, it does require a filter extension. That's 1.25 inches. We also sell those with our deep pans. If you put the filter extension on there, that will allow the oil filter to clear that. Now, on my valve body, the filter is going to touch part of the solenoid that does not work. This is nothing to worry about. It's just touching it. I've had the filter's touching this part of the solenoid is not going to hurt it. Speaking of filters, I recommend it you run the Dacron filter. Don't run the wire mesh brass filters. These filter better, and they're actually going to collect more and keep stuff from going into the pump and the rest of the transmission. All right. I'm pretty sure I went over everything as far as parts are concerned. What style, what kind of fluid do you want to use? If it's red, use it. I don't care. Some people like Type F. Some people like Dextron 2. I'm a Dextron 2 guy. I also been using the B&M trick shift. That seems to be working really good for me. Driving procedures. Don't neutral drop it. You don't need to now that you got a trans brake. Make sure your neutral switches are hooked up, your safety neutral switches, and make sure your linkage is dead balls on. If your linkage is not on correctly, I have another video just on the correct way of adjusting linkage. That has to be perfect. All of them are in reverse pattern. The trans brakes, you can get a couple different versions. The one that we have here is just a regular trans brake. It works in first gear. It then shifts to second to third in reverse pattern. I have a first gear and second gear launch trans brakes. I also have, you can get it in a lockup, which cannot be used going down the track. It's strictly for cruising. And I have clean neutral, so you can shift 1, 2, 3. You go through the finish line and you shift it one more time in the neutral if you have aluminum rod motor. Or you just like to have the engine RPMs go down and not have no engine braking on the track. What else? We're getting close to a half hour, 26 minutes. There is a valve body core charge. You send me a 6 screw. It has to have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. Some of them could be 9. That's not a problem. But it has to be a 6 screw. You send that back to me, and it's good. It's not cracked. It's not rusted. I'll give you the $100 back. Oh, I forgot one more thing. You do get a set of bolts. I used to have gold bolts, but I went through them all, so now I got to buy these new, and I can only give them in silver. And they come with little washers on them. That will keep the valve body from getting scratched. So make sure you use the bolts that I put in there for you. I think I covered everything. If I didn't, leave a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Unlike some other valve body manufacturers, we keep these babies in stock. If you call and order a trans brake or a reverse manual valve body from me, most likely within 24 to 48 hours, we got that valve body out the door and ready to go to you. Same with all our other parts. We're not suffering with any sort of shortages, but you know, we work a lot of hours and we keep a big inventory. So, all right, I think that covers everything. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to, you can like, subscribe. Give me a comment down below. I will definitely answer any questions that you guys may have. Thanks for checking into the CRT channel. We'll talk to you later. More power to you.